Welcome to Retail Retold, the stories behind how that store landed in your neighborhood. I'm Chris Ressa, in conversation with the people and stories shaping retail and real estate. Brought to you by DLC. Welcome to Retail Retold, everyone. Today I'm joined by Rob Gresham. Rob is a chef and founder of Isaac's Poultry Market. I'm excited for him to be here. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
So, Rob, why don't you tell the audience, for those who don't know, a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Chef, founder of Isaac's Poultry Market. Been in the restaurant business since I was 15 years old and don't know anything else. And, started Isaac's from the ground up, designing the interior, brand design, logos, all the recipes, and then found the one store, and now we have a second.
So, when you've been in the restaurant business since you were 15, how did you get in the restaurant business?
I learned that if I wanted a car, I had to earn money. So I started washing dishes at Chesapeake Bay Seafood House in Burtonsville, Maryland, when I was 15, and then got my first cooking job at the same restaurant the week of my 16th birthday. And I've been working in restaurants full time ever since.
So it's so funny you mentioned a car, because there are a lot of kids today that like don't even want to get a car.
I know, it's crazy.
It's absolutely nuts. I can't even fathom not wanting or having a car when I was 17. Like, it was such a big rite of passage to be able to have your own car. It was such a symbol of freedom that I can't believe is so much less desired today. It's fascinating. Like, you got a job specifically for the reason that you needed a car.
Exactly, because I wanted independence and I wanted to just be able to go places.
Yeah, it's crazy. What a world we live in.
Exactly.
So, so you ended up getting a job at the seafood restaurant, and then you said you worked in full-time in restaurants. Did you ever go to schooling? Tell me about
Yeah, I went to community college for 2 years and then transferred to University of Maryland. And then all my friends were getting jobs after they graduated, and I realized I was making more money than them. So I dropped out of college and just kept working in kitchens.
Got it. And tell me about some of your cooking experiences.
A good amount of full service to start. I was a kitchen manager at Lone Star Steakhouse when I was 18, which tells you why there's no more Lone Star Steakhouses, because they let an 18-year-old run their kitchen, because I had no idea what I was doing. And, it just slowly evolved, various different restaurants. And then I was at E.T.'s Market and Bakery, which used to be in Rockville, Maryland. If you look at Wegmans and Whole Foods prepared foods, multiplied it by 10, but made everything taste really good. That was E.T.'s. And I was hired as a chef, and the vice president, who was Dan Simons, who's the founder of Founding Farmers, asked me why I wanted to be a chef. And I told him jokingly, I said, because I like wearing my pajamas to work. And I was like, why do you ask? And he said, well, the manager runs the business. The chef only runs the kitchen. He goes, I think you can learn to run the business. So I was like, all right, I'm in. So I transitioned to the front of the house, and Dan, incredible teacher. I started learning the actual true business, what everything goes into, the finances, the hiring, the people aspect, customer service aspect, and it kind of changed the trajectory of my career big time. And I got married when I was at ET's, and I was working 6 days a week, 100+ hours a week. And after 6 months, my wife was like, I never see you. Like, this is not cool. Something's got to change. And I liked her more than I liked my job. So I was like, all right, I'll look for something else. And I was introduced to Bob Blessing, who was the COO of Chipotle. And he's telling me how great fast casuals are. No late nights. There's no drunks at the bar. you can actually have a life and still work in restaurants. And I was like, well, that sounds amazing. I'm like, I'm in. So I went to Chipotle and it was incredible. I was there when they went public.
What'd you do at Chipotle?
I was hired as a GM to fix troubled stores. Um, so I went there and their operations are so incredible that it was boring. Um, like everything, like anybody, a monkey could go in and run one of their stores. It's so buttoned up. Uh,
Wow.
and so after about 3 years, I was just really bored. So I left and went to La Prima Catering, which is a full service catering. And again, hired to go around and fix their kitchens that weren't operating optimally. Sorry, my dogs are howling in the background.
All good. Real life.
Yes, exactly. And from there, I went to high school with Ted Xenocristos, who was one of the founders of CAVA. Um, and after they opened the first restaurant is really when he and I became friends, their first full service restaurant. And then he called me one day and said that he had a guy that wanted to make a Chipotle version of his restaurant and didn't know that side of the business and asked if I would meet with them. So I went and had dinner with him, and that person ended up being Brett Schulman, who's the CEO of CAVA
Oh my God.
currently. And so I had dinner with him, and it was a great conversation. And then the next day, Ted called me, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "That guy Brett might be the smartest person I've ever met. Like, you got to find a way to hold on to that guy." He's like, "All right, I'll let you know how it goes." Six months later, I get an email from Brett asking me to meet for coffee. So I met with him and I said, I noticed your email said Brett at Cava Meze. He's like, "Yeah, I'm the CEO." Um, and he's like, "I've been spending the last several months trying to fix and stabilize their dips business, and we're going to move forward with this grill concept." He's like, "I was wondering if you just help me get it off the ground, and maybe after store 5, we'll have enough money we can afford you and you can come join us." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll help you." I'm super happy where I'm at. We'll see what happens. So over the next couple of years, he and I met maybe 6 and 12 times, talking labor performance, kitchen design, layouts, equipment, everything but food. Because they got Dimitri Moshavides as a chef. You don't need me, because he's awesome. And he just kept saying, maybe after store 5, I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." And I was doing this. I had no intention of joining them. I didn't ask for any money. I was just helping out friends. Um, and then December of 2010, Brett called me early in the morning, and he doesn't usually call ever, especially early in the morning. So I knew something was wrong. And I was like, so I pick up the phone. I was like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Those guys have their full service businesses, restaurants. They don't have time to help me. So if I'm going to do this, I have to do it right. I need you, and I need you now." And I just happened to have 80 grand in catering going out the door that day. And I was feeding the King of Jordan for lunch. And I was like, "This is not a good time." I was like, "Just send me an email. I'll call you tonight. It's going to be late." He's like, "Okay." So I got through the day. I got to meet the King, which is really cool.
That's crazy.
Called Brad on my way home, and, we talked the whole way. And I got home, and my wife was like, "How was work?" I was like, "It was great." I said, "I got to meet the King." Um, she goes, "Are you busy tomorrow?" I said, "No, we're all off, but I'm going to go in and give my notice." And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to Cava." She's like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Yeah, I am. And I'm taking a 50% pay cut." Um, so we sat down and talked about it. And I told her, I said, "There's something about this idea and this guy, Brett. This is the one I'm going to regret if I don't do it." And thankfully she backed me, and that was it.
So how many stores did you get in at Cava? Meaning what you were in, you got it, you officially took employment at Cava at store number
0.
0. Okay.
Mhm.
And then how long were you at Cava?
9 years. And then saw it from 0 to 80 stores in 12 states. We also expanded our dips business to Whole Foods nationally. It's the number 1 selling hummus in the country at Whole Foods.
Wow. And what was your role like official? At 50 stores, you obviously had a title in your email. What was your title?
It was director of operations from day one. Um, and really, when we started, Brett and I just divided the company in half. He did half the jobs, I did half the jobs. And we did those jobs until we physically couldn't do them anymore. So he came to me one day. He's like, I need somebody to do the marketing. I can't keep doing this. And so we made it made it a point that we both had to agree 100% on whoever we hired. And then we would do that as the team grew. So we hired Nikki Rappaport to take over marketing. And now we're a 3-man team.
Oh my
And
God.
then I needed an HR person. So the three of us had to agree 100% on who we hired. So we hired Dave McElveen from Chipotle, and now we're a 4-man team. And then, so we kept growing that way. But even up to store 12 was our first store in LA, I was still in charge of construction. So I'd be in construction meetings in LA, take the red eye home to DCA, um, drive out to Belmont in Ashburn, Virginia for a construction meeting, drive back to DCA for a construction meeting, and then go home, change clothes, and go do my day job.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was a lot,
Wow.
but I wouldn't have changed any of it. It
Y-
was it was exhausting, it was tiring, but it was a lot of fun.
Very, very cool. I hope I'm assuming that when when Cava went public, that was a good day for Rob Gresham.
It was a good day for a lot of people. Yeah, they're great. Ted and Dimitri are phenomenal people. Brett honestly is still the smartest person I've ever met, and he was awesome. I left because my job was morphing into an office job, and I'm not that guy. If I'm in an office, I'm a paid distraction. Nobody gets work done. Um, and so I went to Brett and told him I was leaving, and he said, "No, you're not." And we had already bought Zoe's, and he said, "Go home, look at the organizational chart of both restaurants or both businesses, and just tell me what job you want. I don't care what it is. Just tell me what job. I don't want you to leave." And which is awesome. Nobody does that. And I was like, "That's why I love you. You're family for life, but I got to go. It's time. You're going to make me dress like an adult soon, and that's not who I am." So I left April 2019, started a consulting business, helping local restaurants, both full service and fast casuals. The CAVA guys even hired me to help them with their full service kitchens. Um, and it was great. It was very, very busy. I didn't try to go out and get any business. It was kind of just handed to me until the pandemic hit. And when all the restaurants closed, nobody needs a consultant. So my older son was at a Good Counsel High School, and they switched to online learning overnight. Like, didn't miss a beat. My wife is an attorney doing commercial leasing, so she got very busy because every retailer is trying to figure out how they don't have to pay rent, and every landlord is trying to figure out how to make them pay rent. So it just left me and my younger son, who was still in Montgomery County Public Schools, and their online learning was non-existent. So he was just playing Xbox all day. And after about 2 weeks, I just looked at him and I was like, both our brains are going to go to mush. Like, I'm going to teach you how to write a business plan, and we're going to design a really cool restaurant. And we created Isaac's Poultry Market. And it kind of worked out. It started with just me and him, and then my other son and my wife kind of joined in, and it was kind of a family um, thing. And with no desire to ever open it, it was just a process to keep my brain going.
Got it. You still a Cava shareholder?
I am.
Well, that's good too. That's good.
Yes. It doesn't suck.
Okay. What a cool story. And so Isaac's Poultry Market was from the from the depths of COVID and the pandemic, an idea that generated when they talked about, there's going to be all these entrepreneurs sitting on couches with nothing to do and come up with ideas. Here you are. This is one of them.
Yes.
And so talk about what is Isaac's Poultry Market.
So it's chicken restaurant, roasted chicken, tenders, wings, sandwiches, salads, sides. Everything is made from scratch. There is not one artificial ingredient in our buildings. Um, we're 95% gluten free, including all of our chicken, all our tenders, wings. No gluten ever goes into our fryers. There's no cross contamination. We'll need probably 4 or 5 restaurants to have enough buying power to be 100% gluten free.
Okay.
But that's the goal we're working to. So the when coming up with the restaurant, it was 2020. There was a lot of protests. People were locked away. The world was not happy. And I told my 2 sons that food brings people together. So if we're going to open a restaurant or design a restaurant, I want it to be all encompassing to where as many people feel comfortable coming as possible. So it took me over 2 years to write all the recipes because I intentionally tried to remove as many food allergens as possible. And so that way, no matter what your allergy is, you can feel safe coming to our restaurant, not worry about getting sick. And then also all our chicken is certified halal, which opens it up to the entire Muslim community to be able to eat as well.
Wow. And when did the first location open?
February of 23
Oh, wow.
in
That,
Gaithersburg, Maryland.
that's around the same time that CAVA went public, isn't it? Didn't they go public in 2023?
Yes, in June.
Some correlation there?
I don't know. Somebody's looking out for me. Need all the help I can get.
Need some capital to build out a store.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I was also very fortunate. I have the same CFO that was with us when we started CAVA,
Oh, no way.
Johan Allender. So he helped me. I have some of the original bigger investors of CAVA help me, and then introduce me to some of their friends. So, and as far as fundraising, and we kind of just followed the blueprint from CAVA, which was the same blueprint from Chipotle.
Got it. So as it relates to Gaithersburg, so you open up in February of 23. How did you choose Gaithersburg?
I live down the street.
Fair enough.
But I have, it's different because I know what CAVA sales are. I know what Chipotle sales are. So I know what neighborhoods tend to do well with fast casuals. So I actually wanted to be in the Kentlands right next to CAVA. But there's a Chick-fil-A there and they have an exclusive on chicken. So I couldn't go there. The spot I'm in used to be a Pizza Hut, had recently closed. And my broker was like, "How do you feel about this?" I was like, "I've been thinking about it. I drive past it every day." And I was like, "Let's talk to him." And it just, the landlord was phenomenal. It's a family owned center, the nicest landlords I've ever had in my life. And, we're able to get a good deal. We opened.
It was different than dealing with like a DLC or major landlord dealing with those folks. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And having my wife as my leasing attorney also helps.
There you go.
She's been doing it a long time, so between her and our broker, they made it a lot easier.
So, and so, what was so you this is how you found the location? It was an easy negotiation, family owned. Did you have to sell them on the fact that like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I was one of the original founders of CAVA. Did you have to sell them on that?
Yes. Yeah. CAVA definitely opened some doors. They were about to start at least with another guy that was going to open a restaurant in that location. And once we reached out to him, they kind of told him to take a hike. So my background definitely helps. It also helped us with our lease in our second location as well.
And so what did it cost to build out this restaurant?
Man, I still have nightmares about that. One thing I would not suggest is opening a restaurant in the middle of a pandemic. Because right as we started construction, COVID was still going big. It took forever. Like, I'm like, why is the storefront not done? Oh, the bricklayers keep getting COVID. All right, brick finally goes up. Why is it taking 3 weeks to get the windows in? They keep getting COVID. And
Oh my
it's like,
God.
the HVAC that was spec'd by the engineers had a 52-week lead time.
Yeah.
So we had to find alternatives, which were not always cheap alternatives. Um, there's a lot of wood in the restaurant, and lumber spiked to an all-time high. So a restaurant that should have cost 750 to 800,000 cost $1.2 million to build.
And
Yeah.
and what uh, you've been in the fast casual space, so you understand, the sales volumes of strong fast casual restaurants. How did you base your projection of what this would do?
Um, it, Anytime you're looking for a location, and this is what we did at Cava as well, is you want a restaurant to do at least $2 million a year. So based on the restaurants around us, the traffic and the flow, this restaurant should do 2 million a year. And that's, you base your percentages off of that.
And have you were your projections accurate?
Um, for last year, the second year, we were at 1.9.
All right, so you're
So
right on the money.
yeah, so this year, um, you know, the economy is a little different this year,
Mhm.
for various different reasons. So we were for 6 months of the year this year, we're actually behind last year's sales. I tweaked our marketing and started doing a lot of digital marketing, because people doom scroll on their phones 4 to 6 hours a day. So anybody that's been in our restaurants or is within 10 miles of either restaurant get ads on all their social medias. And that's actually been driving sales. So we've by the end of October, we should be even with last year.
Wow, that's great.
So this
And
should be close to 2 million this year.
and then you when did you decide to do location 2?
Um, about a year after we started, casually looking, um, and our broker and I were talking about various locations, and Burtonsville Crossing kept coming up. Um, you know, and we were actually looking at first we were looking at Woodmore Town Center in PG County.
I know it well.
Um, I love that center. Um, and we even went as far as Wegmans has an
We tried to
exclusive in their
buy it
lease.
once. We tried to
Did
buy
you?
it once, yes.
It's a great center. Both the CAVA and Chipotle there do very, very well. The Wegmans has a lease exclusive in their lease that says no other store can have the word market in their name. Um, so we reached out to them and explained who we were and what we're doing, and they're like, "Oh, absolutely, we'll sign off on that. We'd love to have you next to us." Um, and then the landlord kind of just used us to get more money from somebody else, which happens. It's business. But that's a lease and a rent amount that I would never pay for that space. So I told them when the company can't pay their rent and closes within 2 years, call me. I still want to be there. So we kept looking, and then, Burtonsville Crossing's owned by Edens, and we've opened Cavas and Edens, and I know some of them very well. And their VP of leasing we talked to my broker, and then she called me, and she's like, "How do you feel about putting an Isaacs in Burtonsville?" I'm like, "I'm in." And she's like, "Don't you want all the demographics and the numbers and all that?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm in." She's like, "You do know where Burtonsville is, right?" And I
Yeah.
was like, "I went to Burtonsville Elementary, and my first job washing dishes were right across the street from that location." And she's like, "Oh, so you're in?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm in."
Got
But
it.
that lease negotiation was much different than our first.
Yeah, yeah. It was more like your days at Cava, I'm sure.
Yes, 100%.
As Cava got
But
institutional and went to more institutional properties, the lease negotiations are different.
much different. They have a much easier time than I do right now. But this reminds me of the early days when we're fighting and struggling, and some leases don't work out, and you got to move on and find another spot. Which um, I thought I was going to have to do multiple times in Burtonsville. It was walk away. But it took 7 months to get the deal done, but we got it done, and I got exactly what I wanted for it. So
So that's interesting. What 7 months, it's painful as a landlord to hear it took 7 months to get the deal done. What what was a provision or two that was, a stumbling block during the negotiation?
um, the exclusives on my chicken was the main one. Um, they agreed to give me exclusives on everything I wanted except for chicken tenders. And I was on a Zoom with a bunch of people from Edens at the time, and I was like, "Why not tenders?" They're like, "Well, we want to keep our options open, blah blah blah." And I was thinking, like, "You guys are talking to Raising Cane's, aren't you?" And they're like, "Well, yes, but not exactly for this store, this location, maybe." I was like, "Well, if you sign them, I'm out." And they're like, "Well, you guys could go coexist." I'm like, "No, we can't." I was like, "They have a name. I don't, you know, even though I don't like their food and I will eat there, but they have a name. They'll crush me. I will not do well. So I got to go."
So I'm going to take the landlord position here for a second. So are you saying if there's a market that has a Raising Cane's, you're going to avoid that market today?
It depends on where.
Okay.
So not necessarily like, there's a Raising Cane's in Colombia. I want to be in Colombia. Um, the number one
Because you
sales.
can't keep them out of the market.
No, but I don't want them right next door to me.
Okay.
It's,
I
same
understand.
reason why, Chick-fil-A doesn't want any chicken near them.
Sure.
It's, it's strategic and, it's all a game. You got to play the game and try to do what's best for your business.
For sure. Would you have walked away from the deal if you couldn't get that?
I would have,
Yeah.
just because we're young, store two, you need to protect the brand as much as possible. When you're early on is more important.
Now, this is where leases get funky. So if I have a fancy sit down restaurant, high end restaurant, call it just for ease so everyone understands, I have a steakhouse
Mhm.
and I want to bring a steakhouse into the center. I think we can agree you're fine with a steakhouse going into Burtonsville.
Bring them. I'd love to have them.
Now, what if the kids menu has chicken tenders?
That's fine.
That's fine.
Because it's not their product. It's not their main seller.
Okay.
Like there's an expectations in Burtonsville. They have a fried chicken sandwich and they sell chicken tenders, but that's not the main thing what people go there for.
Sure. So the primary use is what your concern was.
Correct.
Okay. Fair enough. Um, so going back a little bit, where'd the name Isaac's Poultry come from?
When everything shut down and the pandemic first started, my wife and I were teaching our sons historical facts of previous pandemics.
Huh.
Kind of like, hey, the world's been through this before. It's weird. We don't know how long it's going to happen or how long it's going to take, but we're going to hang out for a little while. Um, and when I went to throw out some names, my 17-year-old, who was 12 at the time, literally looked at me and goes, "Dad, all those names suck. Just name it Isaac's." And I just looked at him. I was like, "Oh, it's brilliant." Because during the plague, Isaac Newton was quarantined from Cambridge, created calculus, and discovered a theory of gravity. And so
Wow.
my son was like, "He did all that while he was quarantined. You created a chicken restaurant, just name it Isaac's." And I was like, "That's amazing. I don't have a better name, obviously. So Isaac's it is."
I love that. What a great
Yeah,
story. Uh, and are you how's the Burtonsville location doing?
it's good. It opened 7 months ago. It's about 5 months behind where I wanted it to be, because there's expectations, and then there's a beautiful new gym called Domain right next door to us that were both delayed 5 months. Like I tried to plan my opening right around theirs, and they're the main drivers to bring people into the center. So once both of them were able to get open, our sales started to climb.
Got it.
come for them, stay for the chicken. So it's growing. Customer feedback is amazing. I've never had so many people thank me for opening a restaurant somewhere.
Hmm.
I've opened over 100 around the country, and like I've honestly never had customer feedback like this before. So it's great. It's growing in the right direction. I think after first couple years, it'll probably be busier than Gaithersburg.
Are we looking for location 3?
We are.
Awesome.
We're slowly looking for number 3, just because with the economy the way it is and costs are going up for various different reasons. So we're trying to stabilize all our paper costs and our food costs, and so get all that, but still slowly looking for number 3. I told our broker I want him to only look at second gen locations, because unfortunately, I think over the next 18 to 24 months, we're going to have a record number of restaurants closing in the DC area. So there's going to be some prime second gen stores that we can get and build out at a fraction of the price.
So, last thing before I wrap this up into a not so pretty bow. So, you were at 2 fast casual places, and I think this is a distinguishing factor of fast casual versus fast food. But and when you were a consultant at, you were at the Chipotle fixing stores that didn't need to be fixed and bored out of your mind, and then you moved to CAVA. Both these restaurants in, what I would consider in the fast casual space don't have a drive-through. They're not drive-through operations. And Chipotle obviously moved to the Chipotle lane and is, had what I would call, does Chipotle lanes, doesn't do them, continuing to ideate with that. Is Isaac's going to have a drive-through ever?
Yes.
It is.
Chipotle, Cava does have them. They're called their fly through. It's all digital
Sure.
ordering.
Yes, I'm familiar. Yeah.
I, I don't know. It's been a while since I've been there, but I do know that Columbia, Maryland was their number 1 store in sales, and it was the only one in the top 10 that did not have a drive-through.
Hmm.
So having the drive-throughs is a very good revenue driver.
Wow, it was the only one in the top 10 without a drive-through.
Correct. Now that could be different now because I don't, but that's the way it was.
Wow. So, well, listen, this has been great. Your story is so compelling, so interesting. Really, really, thank you for coming on. I'm wishing nothing but the best for Isaac's, and really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, this was great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Appreciate you watching. Hit subscribe. See you in the next one.